The committee will come to order. The chair notes the presence of a quorum pursuant to committee rules. Members of the committee may submit written opening statements for the record. Ask that members may revise and extend the remarks on the bills to be considered at this markup and have those remarks included in the record. Without objection, so ordered. Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare recess of the committee at any time pursuant to Committee Rule 3I. I announce that I may postpone further proceedings today on the question of approving any measure or matter or adopting an amendment on which a recorded vote is ordered. I'll now recognize myself for an opening record. Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our full committee markup. This legislation we are considering today touches almost every area of our committee's jurisdiction and is another example of how this committee works diligently to find solutions for the American people. We're unleashing American energy, promoting access to our national parks and public lands, and increasing the transparency of federal agencies in our jurisdiction. This committee remains one of the most productive in the U.S. House of Representatives, and we're continuing to carry that momentum forward. Today, we are considering 8 bills on which the committee has reached bipartisan agreement. We're increasing access and investment in our federal lands, honoring law enforcement officers, recognizing the legacy of a former member of this committee, and more. H.R. 309, the National Law Enforcement Officers Remembrance, Support, and Community Outreach Act, introduced by Representative Nehls, provides resources to support the National Law Enforcement Memorial Fund and its community outreach. Representative Hageman's H.R. 1693 honors former U.S. Representative Barbara Cubin's legacy of service to her home state of Wyoming by redesignating the National Historic Trails Interpretive Center in Casper, Wyoming, in her name. H.R. 4931, the National Park System Long-Term Lease Investment Act, introduced by Representative Murphy of North Carolina, extends certain national park leases to encourage long-term investment. H.R. 5063, the Safe Beaches, Safe Swimmers Act, introduced by Representative Kiggans, helps ensure adequate lifeguard staffing at federal beaches. Representative Begich is H.R. 6021, Archie, Cavanaugh Migratory Bird Treaty Amendment Act, protects the cultural heritage and economic rights of Alaskan Native artists by requiring clarifications to the Migratory Bird Treaty with Japan and corresponding updates to domestic regulations to allow for the use of bird parts to create native articles or handicraft. H.R. 8454, introduced by Representative McClintock, reduces the checkerboard ownership of federal land in California to better manage wildlife habitat, grazing operations, and ecological resources. I thank the sponsoring members for the dedicated work on these bills. I thank Representative Huffman and the minority for working together with us on this package. I look forward to our discussion today, and I yield back. And I recognize Ranking Member Huffman for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a good agenda today. I'm pleased that the majority has worked in good faith with us to reach consensus on these 8 bills. It is nice to have an all-UC markup, and I want to recognize the collaboration and hard work that it takes to make that happen. These are some good bills. H.R. 8121 by Delegate Stacy Plaskett would honor Peter G. Thurland, a key figure in the St. Croix community. I know honoring that legacy is very important to her constituents, and I'm pleased that we are advancing the bill. H.R. 4219 by Representative Ed Case would authorize the National Wildlife Refuge System Invasive Species Strike Team Program within the Fish and Wildlife Service to eradicate, control, and reduce impacts of invasive species on and adjacent to National Wildlife Refuge System lands and waters. These species can harm the environment, human health, and the economy. It's a very worthy bill. Unfortunately, some of the other bills on today's agenda, although they're important steps in the right direction, actually highlight many of the problems that my Republican colleagues have just been unwilling to work with us on to actually solve. The Safe Swimmers Act, a good bill, would direct Interior Department to address lifeguard safety shortages at federal beaches by entering into agreements with local government to get more continuity and coverage. But this proposal is obviously, it can't be the final solution to the problem. It doesn't address what Republicans in this administration have done to make this problem worse. And of course, the first rule of holes is you gotta stop digging. The National Park Service is reeling from President Trump's staffing cuts. If we really want safe swimmers, we have to find a way to fund and staff our federal beaches. Unfortunately, my colleagues have been silent and keep just pushing bills directing agencies to collaborate harder, to find a way to make something out of nothing. We need to do better. And I think we also need to talk about what's not on the agenda today. This is our last markup of the summer, our last chance to move forward bills that matter to the American people before everyone goes home for 5 weeks with almost nothing to show. When it comes to addressing costs for American families, certainly nothing about the spiraling healthcare crisis, nothing about the naked corruption of the Trump administration, the worst corruption in American history. I think they should be willing to work with Democrats on reining in this disastrous war of choice in Iran that has caused prices to skyrocket for food and fuel and basic necessities all over this country. They should stop him from slapping allies with tariffs that have already made the cost of living a crisis and are about to make it worse. Here in this committee, they could be going after the war profiteers in the oil and gas industry that are plundering our public lands and waters and then price gouging American families on top of it. They could be standing up to Trump's war on affordable, renewable, clean energy because his administration keeps illegally blocking projects that could bring electricity prices down to help struggling families. The administration's even lit a couple $2 billion on fire for fake settlements that pay companies to walk away from offshore wind leases. President Trump has flat out said he doesn't care about costs, about inflation, and how Americans are hurting. And from the looks of the agenda and our unfinished business, it seems House Republicans agree with him. On top of that, Republicans continue to ignore the growing cost of the climate crisis, costs that are both financial and human. We're seeing record heat, wildfire, drought, extreme storms like we've never seen before, no end in sight, the air quality the last couple weeks. Good luck getting affordable insurance these days. We need to act now. But instead, we're doling out giveaways to fossil fuel polluters, doubling down on policies that will make this crisis even worse. Republicans could join us in some real oversight to stop Trump from spending your taxpayer dollars on vanity projects like his arch, ballroom, the bungled reflecting pool. Or how about doing something with all the evidence of fraud and corruption around America's 250th celebration? We teed it right up for you on a silver platter 2 weeks ago with this report on Freedom 250. Here's a copy, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to ask unanimous consent to enter into the record so that you have it. I really recommend that my Republican colleagues read this. And I hope, although it's too late for us thus far in this session, that when we come back in September, Mr. Chairman, we can do better. We can tackle the issues that matter.
Without objection, so ordered. We now turn to the UC package. With the cooperation of Ranking Member Huffman and the other members of the committee, we have worked out an agreement on 8 bills scheduled for markup today. As we have done before, rather than going through a formal markup process for each of the bills, I will make a single unanimous consent motion to report out the bills favorably with any amendments that have been filed and agreed to. Before we begin, does any member seek time to speak on any of the bills in this unanimous consent motion? Seeing none, I ask unanimous consent that the Subcommittee on Federal Lands be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 309, the National Law Enforcement Officers Remembrance, Support, and Community Outreach Act, H.R. 1693 to redesignate the National Historic Trails Interpretive Center in Casper, Wyoming as the Barbara L. Cubin National Historic Trails Interpretive Center, H.R. 4931, the National Park System Long-Term Lease Investment Act, H.R. 5063, the Safe Beaches, Safe Swimmers Act, H.R. 8121, to designate the Christiansted Bandstand at the Christiansted National Historic Site, St. Croix, Virgin Islands, as the Peter G. Thurland Senior Bandstand, and H.R. 8454, to provide for the transfer of administrative jurisdiction over certain federal land in the state of California and for other purposes. Without objection, so ordered. Ask unanimous consent that the Subcommittee on Water, Wildlife, and Fisheries be discharged from further consideration of H.R. 4219, the National Wildlife Refuge System Invasive Species Strike Team Act of 2025, and H.R. 6021, the Archie Cavanaugh Migratory Bird Treaty Amendment Act. Without objection, so ordered. I now ask unanimous consent that the following measures be approved and favorably reported as described to the House of Representatives. H.R. 309, the National Law Enforcement Officers Remembrance, Support, and Community Outreach Act, with an amendment in the nature of a substitute offered by the Chair, designated Westerman 86 A&S. H.R. 1693, to redesignate the National Historic Trails Interpretive Center in Casper, Wyoming, as the Barbara L. Cubin National Historic Trails Interpretive Center. H.R. 4219, the National Wildlife Refuge System Invasive Species Strike Team Act of 2025, with an amendment in the nature of a substitute offered by Ranking Member Huffman, designated Huffman 99 A&S. H.R. 4931, the National Park System Long-Term Lease Investment Act, with an amendment in the nature of a substitute offered by the Chair, designated Westerman 87 A&S. H.R. 5063, the Safe Beaches, Safe Swimmers Act, with an amendment in the nature of a substitute offered by the gentlewoman from Virginia, Ms. Kiggans, designated Kiggans 156 A&S. H.R. 6021, the Archie Cavanaugh Migratory Bird Treaty Amendment Act, with an amendment in the nature of a substitute offered by the gentleman from Alaska, Mr. Begich, designated Begich 174 A&S. H.R. 8121, to designate the Christiansted Bandstand at the Christiansted National Historic Site, St. Croix, Virgin Islands, as the Peter G. Thurland Senior Bandstand, with an amendment in the nature, or with an amendment offered by the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Negoose, designated Negoose number 1. H.R. 8454, to provide for the transfer of administrative jurisdiction over certain federal land in the state of California and for other purposes, with an amendment in the nature of a substitute offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. McClintock, designated McClintock 92 A&S. Without objection, so ordered. Without objection, the motions to reconsider are laid on the table. Mr. Huffman, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, I give notice of my intention to file supplemental, additional, dissenting, or minority views on the measures just considered. I ask unanimous consent that this notice be extended to all measures considered at the markup. Under House Rule 11, Clause 2L, this notice extends to all members.
Without objection, so ordered. Ask unanimous consent that the staff be allowed to make any technical and conforming changes to the documents the committee just adopted, subject to the approval of the minority. Without objection, so ordered. If there's no further business, Madam Clerk, we wish you a happy birthday today.
Oh.
And the
We're going to sing? You going to sing?
I'll let you sing.
You want to lead?
Just say happy birthday and not put anybody through the misery of Ranking Member Huffman and I singing. If there's no further business, the committee stands adjourned.